Let's look it up on the Google machine. Because I've always heard that it had something to do.
I know it's got something to do with a bull. It's got something to do with a bull in some capacity. Whether or not it's bull pee, I don't know. But I know that, well, I say I know. I might just be flat out fucking wrong about this. But the stuff that they use to make cherry flavoring, or it's either cherry flavoring or raspberry flavoring, comes from the anal gland of a beaver.
Yeah, I have heard that before. It's like raspberry flavoring,
Yeah,
right?
something like that, yeah.
So it says that taurine is an organic compound that is widely distributed in animal tissues. It is a major constituent of bile and can be found in the large intestine.
Bile.
Yep, and accounts for up to 0.1% of total human body weight. Well, it's about to account for more than...
At least 16 ounces of meat.
Well, that would be like if this was like straight taurine.
Yeah, oh.
Like
So-
16 ounces of monster.
So I didn't say specifically that it comes from bull urine.
I think it's I guess like a
It's some
biochemical compound or
some
something
kind
like
of chemical
that.
compound that might be found in bull
Yeah,
urine.
probably, but it sounds like it's found in other stuff too.
Yeah,
It's not
people make it
necessarily-
sound like Coca-Cola at a Coca-Cola factory. There's like a bull peeing into like a
Yeah.
giant vat. It's just standing there pissing into it, and they just like open the spigot. There's your monster. It's just bull pee.
I wonder where they got that from. I guess because I guess Taurus, isn't that like a sign? It's like a bull.
Yeah, that Taur
Yeah.
is that means bull in some capacity. I don't know. So this is probably the second monster that I've had in years. I used to,
And I got you the other one.
Yeah, you did. I used to drink these things like religiously.
You think that might have helped with or that might have caused some of the issues with the
Kidney stone? Yeah, I would imagine that it had a lot to do with that. Well, because, I mean, I stopped drinking Monster, and then I switched over to Red Bull. Like, that made any
Right.
kind of a difference. And I was drinking...
Like, much healthier.
Yeah. A lot of it had to do with the job that I was working at the time. So I was driving around a lot. And so it was just like, I'm heading into Atlanta or going wherever I'm going, and it's just like, it's easy to get lunch by just swinging into racetrack.
Right.
And, stuff like that, and, just grab a Red Bull and not even really think about it. And I would get those, like, 20-ounce ones.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and it was like, they're like 300 calories.
Right.
And there's nothing but like sugar
Right.
and like B12 and all this shit. And I would drink like 3 or 4 of those a day. And they're like
Boy.
$6 a piece.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was really expensive and terrible for me.
So you were essentially, you had a job to fund your...
To fund my Red Bull addiction.
Like, this is great. They let me drive around and just buy them. I just got to do a little bit of work.
I remember because I switched over to sugar-free back when I was trying to lose weight. And I was like, well, I still want the energy, but I was like, I want to cut out the sugar.
Yeah.
And like a 20-ounce Red Bull is like 300 calories. A 20-ounce sugar-free Red Bull is like 20.
Really?
Yeah, so like...
That's like just straight sugar.
Yeah, so you take the sugar out, and all of a sudden it drops 280 calories.
Right. Did you ever try just getting like the 5-hour energy shots? Because this is like straight B12, isn't it?
I've had one of those a real long time ago, and I didn't like it. I didn't like.
You didn't like the taste of it, or you didn't like?
I didn't like it really freaked me out. I didn't like how it was so small.
Yeah.
Because it made me feel like it was like a super concentrated, like something that's not supposed to be in my body. Right. And it kind of reminded me of Danimals.
Danimals.
Which, how fucking gross is drinkable yogurt? I mean, like, really, when you think about it, it's like, they're like this.
Yeah.
You probably buy them from Autumn. It's like 4 or 5 ounces or whatever.
Yeah.
And like,
it's just like watery yogurt.
It's watery yogurt. And I loved it as a kid.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, if you handed me a Danimal, I'll be like, what is this? You remember Go-Gurt?
Yeah, she likes Go-Gurt too.
Oh, Go-Gurt's still a thing?
Yeah.
Isn't it so funny? It's like you couldn't hand a kid like a cup of like Activia.
Oh, right.
In that, like marine green
Right.
packaging, whatever. They'd be like, I don't want that. But you put it in a tube.
Yeah, put it in a tube and put Elsa on the front of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm all about that shit.
Isn't it funny how companies kind of do that stuff where they'll be like, oh, this is healthy because it's in the green packaging.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or they just put like a picture of a leaf on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a bag of like pure cane sugar. And it's in a green bag, so it's good for you. What I always thought was really weird too was like the mix of like Imperial and metric when it comes to like food stuff. Like if you look on like a nutrition label,
Right.
all that stuff's in like grams.
Right.
But then like, an ounce is
Yeah,
like
but you're measuring the actual liquid in the can by the Imperial system.
It's like a weird mix of things.
Yeah.
I actually learned the other day that the metric system, like, so there was never any standard of how to measure things up until about like 400 years ago.
Right.
Like, so a foot is literally like you were meant to measure things with your fucking foot. And like an acre was the amount of land that a farmer could plow in a day.
Right.
And then like a hectare was like twice that or a little over twice
How
that.
much hectare could farm in a day?
Oh fuck. But like there was no like there was no standard. So like think about how much commerce relies on like measurements being accurate.
Right.
Like back then there's no way that shit was going smoothly. Like a pound, the idea of a pound of something is 7,000 barley grains.
It's like I don't.
Yeah, like what? Who's got time to figure that out?
Yeah, who decided on that?
So there was like a bunch of like French scientists who were like, we need like something that like everybody can kind of get on board with, and like something that makes sense, something real easy. And so they like literally physically measured like 1/4 of the Earth's diameter. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, we got 1/4 of it, so 4 of these is the whole Earth's diameter. Right. And then if we just divide it by 10 a bunch of times, then we have a bunch of different measurements. We can measure big things. We can measure little things.
Right.
There's like a meter is just 1/10 of the next thing up, whatever it is.
Of like a kilometer.
Kilometer or something like that. So it was like, they're like, this is as simple as it can get.
Right.
It's like, and it uses the actual planet, the fucking planet we live on, as like a metric to go by.
Right.
And the United States and like Malaysia, Liberia.
Yeah.
United States, Liberia, and then somewhere else are like the only 3 countries. They're like, we're just going to keep doing the foot and barley thing.
Nah, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. We see what you're doing with the even zeros all the way across, and we don't like that.
Yeah, none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's 12 inches in a foot.
Yeah, and there's
16 ounces in a pound.
Yeah. There's 5,280 feet in a mile.
Yeah, who decided on that?
Well, yeah. How did we get here? But you think about like, you just kind of take the things for granted as far as like, the fact that we're even able to measure things.
Right.
Like back then they were just kind of fucking shooting in the dark.
Yep.
Like how many of my feet across is this?
Well, isn't it like they measured horses like in hands? Like it's like 15 hands or something like that?
Yeah, and 1 horsepower is equal to 7 horses.
Yeah.
Why not? Why is that not just 7 horsepower?
Yeah, what's it? And there's like a converter online where you can figure out how much duck power your car has.
How powerful are ducks?
I think it's like 177 ducks equals 1 horsepower or something.
So that'd be 177 ducks is equal to 7 horses.
Yeah.
See, that's the kind of shit that they were working with back then. The French were like, we got to do better. It's got to be something easier.
What if like you went to a dealership and they're like, you're like standing in front of like a Dodge Neon, and they're like, this baby has 7,000 duck power.
Part of me would just be like, okay, like, it's like, I know that you're gonna rip me off anyway, so like this, it doesn't start. Did I ever tell you about when we bought my car, the one that I have now? So after the Impala like shit the bed, I had to get a new car, and so I ended up going to a place in Marietta. And I don't know if you know this, but in the state of Georgia, it's illegal for dealerships to add additional fees after the agreed upon price.
Right.
So things, what they call dealership fees, is usually like a $500 to $1,000 plus charge that they'll tack on your bill at the end. And it's just like
stupid shit,
it's
right?
literally just money going straight into their pockets.
Right.
It's just money they all give each other and they fucking jerk off on it. And so me and Mary were there, and this was the first car that like I was buying,
right.
So we really haggled the price.
Right.
It was actually kind of funny because we talked the guy down to $220 a month.
Yeah.
And which is low for a
It
car.
is low, yeah. And
we finally landed there, but it took us a long time to get there. And so we went to the financier's office, and the lady comes in. She goes, "I see that your monthly payment's going to be $212 a month." And we were like, "Yes." And then I got my first bill in the mail, and it said $196. And I'm like, "Hey, if it keeps going down, I'm not going to say anything." But so when we were doing the paperwork to like finalize the sale or whatever, of course, we looked at the itemized receipt. And, of course, there was a line on there that said dealership fees was like $700. Right. And Mary immediately was like, no.
Yeah, not paying that.
Not paying that. Take it off.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, she's like, well, I can't take it off. It's in a Microsoft Word document. It's there. I can't just take it off.
You highlight it and you press delete.
So they're giving us like
you should have reached over and did it and clicked delete.
Yeah. Here you go. Click. There you go. It's like, while I'm at it, we'll take off a couple thousand more dollars. But they were giving us like all this bullshit, run around, blah, 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 whatever. Finally, like, actually at one point, the woman really pissed Mary off because the woman goes, well, you don't have to buy the car.
Okay.
It's like, we know that we don't have to buy the car. I was like, but I know I don't have to pay that dealership fee.
Right.
And it's illegal for you to try and do that. And, with Mary's, her career being what it is, we had like a direct line to like an attorney.
Right.
So she called and got clarification. They're like, yeah, that's illegal. They can't do that.
Yeah.
And so the lady who was putting...
She'd be like, is there jail time involved with this?
Yeah. The lady eventually goes and gets like the sales manager or whatever, and he comes in there and he's trying to explain like why it's on there. And we're like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
Right.
You have to take that off there. And he goes, well, he's like, well, actually, since we came down off the sale price or the advertised price, we're allowed to put that on there.
No.
And I was like, so you could come down $1 and then add $700. And he was like, well, we wouldn't do that. And I was like,
you wouldn't.
I said, you did do that.
Yeah.
And he just goes, what if we take $700 off the sale price and I leave it on there? And I was like, all right. They were not going to let go of that thing. But it was so funny because the way that they reacted to us knowing about that just tells me that they get away with that all the time.
Well, they just probably tack shit on there all the time. It's these dumbasses aren't going to check for it.
They know.
Probably because you got people coming there like, oh, I've been pre-approved for $25,000. Like, oh, you have?
Well, here's a Tahoe with a 10% APR.
Yeah, with 120,000 miles on it. You schmutz.
You'll be dead before you own this thing. Yeah, they're all a bunch of fucking crooks. And, like, there's all kinds of things like that, right? I mean, if you didn't know to look out for it,
right,
you're getting hit by it all the time.
And there, like when we bought my car, like after I swapped the position that I had in the old job that I had to turn the company truck in because I was using the company truck. They're like, you can use the company truck to drive around and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But then after I left that position and went to the other people that I was working with, they're like, we don't do a company vehicle. Like you have to get your own vehicle.
Yeah.
So we just went through Carvana. And there's really something to be said for companies like, we don't haggle prices.
Yeah. This is what we were selling
the price
it for.
is what the price is.
Yeah.
And so like that, it just kind of takes that away.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Like either like you can afford it or you can't.
Or you can't. Yeah.
So it's one of the two.
Yeah. If you can, we'll bring it to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, CarMax does the same thing? Like they don't haggle prices.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, the price just is the price.
Yeah.
So
like, do you want to pay that?
yeah.
No. Well, then look for something
else.
else.
Then look for another car. Yeah. We've got plenty.
Yeah, dealerships are just a bunch of fuckers. And then like Dad, I guess it was the Avenger.
Yeah.
How long did he haggle the price with Dodge for that? It was like an all-day thing.
Yeah, we were there
Left
for
the building like 3 times.
a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. Well, mostly because that was after our grandfather had passed away, and like they essentially cut a check to purchase the car.
Yeah.
Because he was like, he'd given us some money or whatever as part of like our like, hey, I'm dead money, so you get some of this.
I think it's called a will.
A will.
Hey, I'm dead money.
He would have laughed at that. But.
He would have, yeah. That's probably what he would have called it too.
So like they had the money or whatever, and it was like they're like, this is how much money we have to give you.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, he's like, well, we can come down. And it was like he started like $2,000 above that.
Yeah.
And Dad and Nanny both were like, well, we're not going to pay that.
Yeah.
So either you want this money that we're willing to give you, or you don't.
It's like you can have this money or you can not have this money. Right. That's the 2 options.
Until finally, like, the guy just broke. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's hard to break those people. They're trained not to break. They're trained to break you.
Right.
Yeah. Excuse me. Had a hiccup there. I don't like to.
It's very frustrating, the whole process. Like, so by the time you get out of there with a car, you already hate that fucking car.
Yeah, I hate this fucking thing. I hate being sold.
Right.
I can't stand it. And it's like that solicitor that came to the house, and I just wanted to put my chicken in the refrigerator, and he was trying to sell me some shit about my house.
Right.
And I told him flat out, I was like, I don't want to do this. And he just was fucking flabbergasted. He had no one had ever said that to him. And it was just like, if I think there's a lot to be said about, like, if you have an idea of what it is that you want.
Right.
Or you know that you don't want something, you don't have to fucking pussyfoot around with anybody. Right. Say, I want this, or I don't want this.
I've literally, like, because we have people that come solicit in our neighborhood, which they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it makes me mad when they do it. So I swing the door open just as hard as I can. Like, what?
What do you want?
And there was one guy, he was going around for like cutting yards or whatever, or it might have been like a pest control or something.
Yeah.
It's like the same company all the time coming around. Like, I guess they do pest control and they come by and solicit everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's like this little, I guess he's 19. And so, like, I swing the door open real quick. I'm like, what do you want? And he's like, oh. And I was like, no. And just close the door.
We don't want any. You should keep, like, a briefcase at the front door with, like, like spoon.
Like a bomb in it.
You just open it up and show him. Get the fuck off my lawn. No, I was thinking like a briefcase with like spoons in it, and then like a pamphlet like for the spoons, and like so if anybody shows up to your door, you just open it and immediately start pitching to them. Don't let him get a word in. He's just talking about spoons. I feel like they would hear you out.
Mm-hmm. What if you got them to buy a spoon?
Yeah, like what are these little spoons there, like $20 or whatever?
They left.
Driving away with a spoon, like, what the fuck happened? They're scam artists, bunch of scam artists.
Yeah, like I guess it would be different like if I was a business owner and there was another business that was coming to me like, hey, we can help improve your business. Mm-hmm. Like if somebody was pitching a business idea to another business to like help like business to business. But as a customer, like just as a normal person living in my house.
Yeah. This is my house.
Yeah, this is my house.
Don't come to my house.
The fuck away from me.
Yeah, if I want to purchase something, I'll go where the thing is.
Right.
I don't want the thing coming to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. It'd be like if dealerships did that. Like some dude drove a fucking Corvette up into your yard and started trying to sell it to you. And you couldn't get him to leave.
The dude like whips it in the yard. It's like doing donuts in the yard. He's like, hey, loser, you want to buy this Corvette?
It's
like you fucking idiot.
Playing fucking Motley Crue, like way too loud on the radio. Just fucking ripping your yard up.
He like gets out and lights up a cigarette.
Hey, loser.
Got on like a leather jacket.
It's like, dude, I'm not 55. I'm not buying a Corvette. They the other day so I've been looking at pallets. Mm-hmm. Not like pallets like the wooden pallets, but pallets of like, like warehouse returns and things.
Right.
And because a lot of times you can get good deals on stuff if you can find like a liquidation center. And I've got a hankering for a table saw.
Right.
I want a table saw real bad. And the other day I saw this like ad on Facebook. And I don't know what happened. I had like a lapse in judgment. But I went through this thing and bought a pallet with my credit card.
Oh, no.
But I did it with my credit card because when you buy something with your credit card, that's the bank's money.
Right.
When you buy it with your debit card, that's your money.
Right.
And they want to get their money back.
Right.
They don't give a shit about your money. So when it comes to things like that, I always use my credit card. But I'm telling you, usually I'm really good about picking these scams out.
Right.
This one was really good. I'm telling you, it looked legit. And I only spent like $60. I didn't spend like $400 or anything like that because like I was like, well, $60. I was like, Mary can't get too mad at me if $60, whatever. And so I went through the whole entire process and I bought the thing, and it's supposed to be a pallet of Milwaukee tools. Yeah, which is pretty.
It's good. Those are good tools.
Brand, yeah. And the page that I landed on after I made the purchase, had a bunch of broken English on it.
Oh no!
And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was like, I went and I started looking at reviews. Yeah. And all the 5-star reviews were guys like Tang Vong Saisi. But it was like a picture of like a white dude. And I was like, fuck! They got me! And there was like, there's like 3 or 4 like 1-star reviews of people like, it's a scam! But they're buried under thousands of fake reviews. And
I gotta respect the hustle.
You got to. And so I was like, there must be some kind of way to cancel this order. Right. And I was looking around and I couldn't find anything that said like customer support or whatever. Right. And I finally found like an email address. It was like, if you have issues, email us here. And so I emailed them, and they sent me back a link to a instant messenger that was on like a third-party website, and was talking to me about my order there. Yeah. Let me read a little bit of this to you, because I ended up pulling what I like to call a Wesley, and I threatened to go to the Better Business Bureau. So I said, I just IM'd them on this thing that they have. It's called X Border. Oh, never heard of that. I said, please cancel this order. They said, dear customer, the seller has received your dispute and will respond to you ASAP. Dear customer, thanks for purchasing on our store. We are so sorry to hear that you would like to cancel your order. Could you please tell us why? And I just said, please cancel the order.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with this. They said, we are sorry to hear that you want to cancel the order. However, your parcel has been shipped out. Like, sorry.
No.
Like, we already, no, we can't do anything about it.
No.
They said, if you find that you really don't like the product or you want to return it, we can give you a return address. I said, please give me the return address.
Yeah.
They said, the tracking number is blah, blah, blah. You can track the information. We are willing to give you a 10% discount. And I said, please give me the return address.
No.
They said, your package is in transit. Please be patient. And I said, I'm going to handle this for the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah.
About an hour after I sent that, I got a notification from my Discover card that I got refunded the money.
See, you laugh, but it works.
Yeah, it fucking worked. It was
works.
like magic. See, nobody wants to deal with like a federal institution.
No.
In any capacity.
No.
They're like, you know what? Fucking fine.
It's the Trump card.
It makes me wonder, like, the next time I go to buy a car, like, the moment anybody gives me any sass, I'm just going to be like, I'm calling the Better Business Bureau. Like, fuck, okay, wait.
Yeah. There's like a red, like, like you said the magic word.
Yeah.
They're like
confetti and balloons coming.
Give you a free car.
It makes me wonder, like, what is the Better Business Bureau doing to these people? There must be horror
Hanging
stories.
them up by their toenails.
Yeah, I mean, there must be horror stories,
Yeah.
right? Like, of people who got caught by the BBB. B-cubed, old B-cubed got them. Awful. But yeah, I hate being sold things.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, if I want something, I'll go get it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't tell me what I want.
Right. There's a reason why there are places that people go to
Yeah.
purchase things. And another thing I really don't like is when I'm at a place to purchase something and somebody's trying to sell me something at that place that has nothing to do with the place that I'm at.
Yeah.
Sort of like when I go to Walmart, like on the few occasions that I do, because I hate Walmart. I cannot
Fucking
stand
hate
going to
Walmart.
Walmart.
I hate Walmart so much.
And you'll like go back towards like the electronics aisle, and there's always some schmuck back there
With like a T-Mobile stand
like
or
a
something?
T-Mobile or
Yeah.
like an AT&T stand or like Dish Network.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, where do you live?" Like,
Like, I'm trying to buy copy paper. Leave me alone.
like Jesus. It's like I was buying toothpaste. I had to go this way to get to the hamburger buns, dude.
They're like, hey, do you have any fears? What? Dish Network. Please give us your business, please. I have, talking about being sold things, I have several different internet providers vying for my patronage.
You're like some like Southern man, like, ooh,
Yeah.
I do declare.
I do declare. Spectrum Internet. It's a fucking dude shows up on my porch in like a white suit. He's like fanning himself. He's like, hello, Mr. Wright. I see that we could get you 100 megabits per second. Why don't you come on inside and get yourself a mint julep? It is a scorcher out here today. How come nobody talks like that anymore? Like that old, like whenever I hear that, I think like Savannah, Georgia.
Right.
Like that's such a
Like Savannah, Georgia, like Charleston, South Carolina.
yeah, like the gentlemanly South.
Yeah.
Like there's still a bunch of hicks, but at least they're in suits.
Not some fucking degenerate in like the hills of West Georgia cooking meth in a trailer. Like you don't see them talking like that.
No, or the Whitakers in West Virginia.
Oh yeah.
That incest family. Did you ever see that documentary on them? There's like one of them who was like incested so bad he could only bark.
Oh. Ugh.
It was this dude that like went to interview them, and they're just a bunch of hillbillies. Like the quintessential hillbilly.
Yeah, well, it's like we were talking about. There's a difference between like hillbillies
and like rednecks.
Yeah,
and cowboys.
Like they all just kind of get lumped together. Like,
yeah, but nobody ever thinks of like the Southern gentleman, with
right, like a foghorn leghorn.
Yeah, a foghorn leghorn type of guy.
Yeah, like when I think of like Southern gentleman, I think of like foghorn leghorn and Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, just that way of speaking.
Right.
Yeah. Like you think like the big plantation house with the big mossy tree out in the front with like the driveway goes around it or whatever.
Or like who was it in the Django Unchained?
Calvin Candy.
Yeah.
I love that fucking movie.
That's a fantastic movie.
I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I think Django, aside from Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained is my favorite movie he's done.
Right.
Pulp Fiction's number one.
My favorite part in that whole movie is where the guys ride down with the hoods. He's like, I can't see shit out of this goddamn thing.
Yeah. He's like, well, y'all don't ask me or mine for nothing.
Wasn't Jonah Hill one of the people that was wearing the mask?
He was, yeah. He was like,
He had like a very short bit in that movie.
Yeah. He's like, I think we can all agree that the masks was a good idea. Well, let's go ahead and bring in the podcast while we're here. Hello and welcome everybody to the 44th episode of the Thick Boys Podcast.
Oh, you look at that.
We're only 6 episodes away from 50.
Ooh.
Can you believe that? 50 episodes
I know.
Of just me and you
just talking.
Just talking.
Bullshitting. Maybe for episode 50 we can get a guest.
That would be nice.
Yeah, we'll do a guest.
We'll
a guest
get
appearance.
Here. I've got a third mic sitting by itself over there. Let's go ahead and jump into Super Cringe Thursday. That way we can lead into Super Spooky Friday.
Right, okay.
And start talking about scary things. So, for anybody who didn't see it, our Super Cringe Thursday pick for this week was, it's a video, it's a candid video that somebody took of a young man who's at like the Electric Cowboy with his girlfriend. And there's another suitor who is also there, who is definitely winning her attention and affection over this guy that she's with. So he's like standing behind her and he's like necking with her.
Right.
Meanwhile, the dude that she came with is like facing this situation.
Right.
He's looking towards it while he's still kind of like...
Yeah, he's like dancing. And so he must have been doing this for quite some time for somebody to be like watching it.
To notice it,
and go, oh, fuck.
I'm going to record this.
Yeah.
You know what's so fucking funny about the video? Is at the end, the girl notices him recording. And she goes, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm just trying to record what's happening. So he was like halfway through coming up with an excuse. And he just said what he was doing. So it's cringy, of course, because of the secondhand embarrassment.
Right.
Seeing it happen to this young man. Because he doesn't look like he's any more than, I don't know, 20, 21.
He's got to be.
Well, they're at a bar, so he's got to be over 21.
Early 20s. I would say early to early mid 20s. Probably 23, 24 maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But he's young.
Right.
And it gets so bad because there's this part where they're standing at the bar and she's standing at the bar and the guy who started macking on her is like standing, he's like up on her.
Right.
Like he's
like draped over her.
Yeah. But the guy that she came with is standing behind them.
Right.
Just looking. Just watching. And I feel so bad for this guy.
Dude, just let it go.
Just let it go.
Let it
because
go home.
Because
go to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Get something to eat, just go home, dude.
And just go home. Because here's the thing, is like even if you know, I don't know if that was his girlfriend or if it was just some girl that he
happened to
he wore her
go,
down.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she didn't really want to go to a thing with him.
Right.
And he wore her down and finally she went
Right.
and then she got a little, drunk or whatever. So
Right.
she might be just as much of an innocent bystander in this whole
Right.
thing. But she very clearly has no respect for this guy.
Right, correct.
So even if, you know, the fact that she's doing that in front of you, like, what do you think?
It lets you know.
It would let you know that she's
Right.
not going to be a faithful partner to you.
Right,
If
correct.
you did end up with her.
Right. Some real cuck behavior.
Well, and, you know, she's not like an unattractive girl or anything. So I was like, I mean, if you at least managed to get this girl to come out with you, you can do it again with another girl.
Right. You wear somebody else down.
Yeah, somebody who's going to have a little bit more respect for you. Instead of letting some dude like just rub his ghibli bits all over the small of her back, right in front of your face.
Right in front of you. And while you're dancing.
While you're dancing and pretending like it's not happening.
Yeah. I guess I don't understand the lack of self-respect gets me.
Yeah.
That's what gets me.
Yeah.
Because if that was me sitting there, like, I don't think I would like flip out on this person, but I would have enough like sense to at least say, hey, this person obviously doesn't want to be here with me.
Yeah.
And she's probably going to go home with this person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go home now and save myself the embarrassment.
I'm just going to call it a loss and I'm going to go home.
Hold this L and just go home.
Like, why would you stand there and fight so hard?
Yeah, stop. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
She clearly has no respect for you.
Right.
And like I said, you can go find another girl who will have respect for you, and then you won't have to worry about
Right.
it.
And he doesn't look like, just by looking at this person, I'm going to judge this person just by looking at him. Does not look like the type of person who would be comfortable in that type of environment anyway.
Yeah, he looks really out of place.
Yeah, he looks extremely out of place.
Yeah.
He doesn't really know what he's doing there. It's sort of like the whole like Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands type deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get that too. He
I
looks
think,
like
he thought like, oh, this is what people
you're supposed to do.
This is what people do.
Yeah.
Right?
You're supposed to go to the club with the girl and
Right.
But because probably all the media and everything he's exposed to is that's what
He's
people
probably
do.
scrolling Instagram and seeing that's what all these people do.
Yeah, that's where girls go. They go to the club.
Right.
If I take a girl to the club, then they'll love me.
Like, chances are, the type of girls that are going to clubs,
Yeah.
you probably don't want to be with those girls anyway.
Yeah. Probably a safe bet to make.
There's a pretty good chance that those are not the type of ladies that you probably want to try to start a family with.
Yeah. At least not in that moment.
Not in that moment.
Not while they're club girls.
Right, exactly.
Because when they're club girls,
Right.
and you got to let them be club girls. But, you know, once they decide they're not club girls anymore and they grow up and become an adult,
Right.
then you, like, you know,
I'm so glad,
that's when you start a family.
I'm so glad I skipped that whole phase. Like,
Yeah,
that
me
was not
too.
something that I ever got caught up in.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like, I remember, like, going to them, like, maybe once or twice. Like, they had the one in, wasn't Wild Bill's. It was, like, Cowboys in Kennesaw.
Yeah.
I went, like, one time, and it's, like, it's so fucking exhausting. Like, by the time you get out, you're like, oh, my God. Like, and they're charging an arm and a leg for a fucking drink.
That was never my scene.
Right.
I've never been, like, a bar guy.
No.
Just, like, I would much rather, like, if somebody was, like, you know, if I had to, like, take somebody on a first date,
It certainly wouldn't be to a bar.
it wouldn't be to a bar and it wouldn't be to a club because that's not who I am. It's like, I'm not going to put up this facade of like, oh, I'm this cheesy club guy. And we're going to go to
like a cheetah print shirt.
a velvet tracksuit. Hey, where's the fucking gabagoo? No, we're going to go eat.
Right.
Because that's who I am.
Right.
I love eating. And I know lots of good places to eat.
I mean, I guess some people are attracted to that kind of stuff, and I guess there's multiple types of people. It's not just the type of person that I am.
Yeah.
But I just know for a fact, like, I'm glad that I never was that person.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Because it seems like there's a lot of drama that goes along with being that person.
Clearly, there is. Yeah, you know, if you're having to put up this facade that you are this type of person, and the person that, you know, you likes that fake you,
Right.
you're going to always have to be the fake you.
Right. And isn't that exhausting?
How fucking tiring is it?
Exhausting
You're
is that?
eventually going to fucking snap.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be like, you changed. You're not the man I knew.
Yeah, you're going to resent the fuck out of that person.
Yeah. And it's not fair to them.
No.
Because they think you're somebody totally different.
Right.
And 5 years down the road when you fucking 180 on them, and they're like, wait a second. You can't just pull a Houdini on me and be a totally different individual. Yeah, so, I mean, it's... It's the lack of respect that she had for him.
Right, and the lack of respect that he had for himself.
For himself.
Right.
It's just everybody.
I don't care about her. Like she's not the person that's bothering me in here. It's me looking at him and being like, you need to have some fucking self-respect.
Yeah.
Leave this situation now.
Yeah. Why are you laying here wallowing in this loss? You lost.
You
it
lost.
happens.
Yeah. The defeated male.
The defeated male leaves. The lion walking away.
Well, you know what? You can't win them all.
You can't.
You can't win them all.
Yeah, because then you'd have all the bitches, and nobody else would have any.
Right. And you know what? If you refuse to take a loss, and eventually you're going to force yourself onto somebody, and that's rape.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a big issue.
And that's a big issue.
So do yourself a favor and just leave.
It's like I said, it doesn't look like he belongs in that place anyway. I think he would probably have a better opportunity or a better chance of finding somebody he actually connects with.
Yeah.
If he went to like a place where people do the things that he probably likes
where
to
you
do.
could, like, share a common interest.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, that's it's you're setting yourself up for failure when you make yourself be somewhere that you don't belong.
Right.
So, and that's not to say, like, I'm not trying to be like a gatekeeper or anything. Obviously, I'm not a club guy either.
Right.
But I'm not going to go there and pretend like that's where I'm supposed to be.
That would be very out of place.
Yeah. I mean, like, it'd be like if I walked into a club dressed like this.
Right.
And you start like, hey, you're like just dancing on some girl. It'd be like, ooh, get the fuck away from me. And I would say, yes, you're correct to say that.
You wouldn't just stand there.
Why would you do this, like, Irish jig thing?
Like,
get away from me, lucky charms.
wearing like a green top hat.
Oh man, it's yeah. If on the off chance that that guy ever
hears this,
I hope that you stop talking to that young lady.
Yeah.
And I hope that you find somebody who wants to talk to you.
Right.
And there is somebody out there.
Right.
But fucking, if I could get married, anyone can get married to somebody that you actually like and somebody that actually likes you.
Right.
And it's just fucking easy.
Right.
Because I've been in a lot. Oh boy. A lot of really shitty, horrible relationships. They all ended terribly. And I have been a victim of some pretty fucking insane infidelity. I won't go into it too much, but I'm just saying, find somebody that respects you.
Right.
Because
it respects themselves.
And it has respect for themselves as well.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it.
Right.
So, moving on to our super creepy Friday post. So this one was a lot different than last week.
Right. It's a different
type of creepy.
Yeah, it's a different strain of creepy, if you will.
So this video is it's a video that somebody took over in Japan of the air raid siren that they play when there's about to be like a missile attack.
Right.
On where you are.
Right.
And for some reason, the Japanese government decided that instead of doing like a normal alarm sound.
Right.
We're going to pick this sound that sounds like it's from the bowels of hell. It is the most unsettling, scary sound.
Right.
Just so you're in much more fear when the missile finally does get you. And what's also really creepy about that video is that there's no one outside.
There's nobody outside, and after the announcement goes off, it's dead quiet.
Dead silent. And this guy's like in like an urban metro center.
I mean, there's buildings
there's
everywhere.
Like skyscrapers and street signs. And
I mean, it looked like he was like there was like there's like an apartment complex here, and maybe like a couple of shops or something down the way,
like analogous to like New York City.
Yeah,
but there's no one outside.
Nobody's outside, and there's not a sound.
The fact that it's dead fucking quiet after those alarms go off is so. When I first watched it and it got that quiet, I was like, like I just had like a shiver go down my spine. So, but the reason that they played that alarm, in case anybody doesn't know, is because North Korea recently fired a missile over Japan.
Right.
And it, like fired it into the fucking Pacific or whatever.
Yeah.
Because North Korea is upset that nobody's paying attention to them right now.
Yeah, right.
With everything going on to the northwest of them. But it's like, that's such a fucking, like the emergency broadcast system that we have here in America.
Right.
It's that whack sound.
Yeah.
That, like, when you hear that, like, if you're just kind of going about your day, like, hee-hee-hoo, I just done having a day, and then that thing comes on your radio, whack,
You're like,
you're immediately like, wait, what? What's happening? Every time I hear that, I'm like in suspense because I'm waiting for, this is a test of the emergency broadcast.
yeah, until one day it's not a test.
Yeah, until one day it's like, this is an official message from the United States White House.
Yeah.
And when you hear that,
Yeah.
find a ditch to go lay in because you're fucking dead.
God, and plus two of the past two fucking presidents. Like,
Yeah. Boy.
this is an official message. It's like, this is the worst.
Yeah, it's a fucking Donald Trump. Could you imagine hearing the emergency broadcast system followed by fucking Donald Trump's voice? Yeah, I mean, if it was Donald Trump, it'd be because he pissed somebody off.
Right.
If it was Joe Biden, it's because he like accidentally sat on a button or some shit.
He's like rambling and like,
Yeah, standing there.
yeah,
Like, do you know, Joe?
yeah. And then they rub my leg hair.
They rubbed my leg hair.
It's like a mushroom cloud in the distance. Like, fuck.
There was a sensational headline kind of circulating here recently.
You don't say.
Well,
That seems to be like that's all the headlines now.
every headline is that way. But the one that I've seen recently is Joe Biden apparently remarked that we are at risk for nuclear Armageddon, even worse now than we were at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And if you read the article, of course, that's like, a sensationalist twist
to
on
get you to read the article,
what he actually said. And what he actually said was that he is apprehensive about it becoming that.
Right.
Which he's right to feel that way.
Right.
Because Vladimir Putin, number one, is 70
Right.
as of 2 days ago. And, he's probably getting senile.
Right.
And he's also losing a war.
Right.
Pretty fucking handily.
That he probably feels he should not be losing.
Yeah. And did you see like where they conscripted they conscripted 3 million civilians to send them into Ukraine? And you're talking like 80-year-olds.
Right.
17 to 80. Anywhere in there.
Right.
Men, women. And you don't do that kind of thing when you're winning.
Right.
You know?
You still have a volunteer force.
Yeah. So Ukraine is pretty, pretty decisively winning this thing and pushing Russia out of their country. And, in a lot of the places that they've liberated, they have found evidence of Russian war crimes and torture. Like there was that bucket of teeth that they found.
Oh, fantastic.
Where they were pulling out this, the Russians captured some town and pulled out everybody's teeth.
No.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what are we? What is the purpose of this war that we're fighting?
Right.
You said Putin said they were going to denazify Ukraine, whatever the fuck that means, and your people are over here doing the exact shit
Right.
that Nazis
That the
did.
Nazi would do.
Pulling out people's teeth.
Right.
Okay, whatever. But, Putin is not the kind of guy who's going to just say, okay, I yield. I lost.
Right.
Putin's the kind of guy who says, if I'm going down, you're going down with me.
Well, also, too, I think, what was it, almost a month ago at this point, I think, maybe, that was it like his right-hand man or something like that? His daughter was killed in a car bombing.
Really?
So, like, they think that Ukraine, like, nationalists, like, planted a bomb underneath this girl's taxi or her car.
Oh, really?
She got in it and, like, drove away, and they, like, detonated the bomb and blew her up.
In Russia?
Yes, in Russia, like, near Moscow.
So there's a chance that they've now come into
Right, so now
Russia.
it's terroristic attacks as well.
Where have we seen this happen before?
I wonder.
This
it's
looks
almost as
awfully
if,
familiar.
It's almost as if we've seen this before. Imagine. Well, I mean, there's a lot too with people like, I don't understand, and this isn't me saying I agree with what Russia's doing, but one of the reasons why Russia, one of the reasons why they went to Crimea and everything is because essentially George W. Bush put like mobile missiles on the border of Ukraine and Russia and pointed them at Russia.
Yeah, which is fair to not like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and then Russia's like, well, if you were the leader of Russia, you'd be like, I can't have this.
You can't just have missiles pointed at me.
Yeah, I can't do this. Yeah. So eventually at some point it's going to break. The dude's getting older. It's like, and if anything, Russia, he hasn't been too fair to all of his adversaries.
Yeah.
So he still has to make a show of force and be like, I'm not to be fucked with.
All right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's like a crazy dude on a bus swinging an axe.
Right.
Like, you just kind of can't get close to him, but you also kind of can't just let him do that.
Right, exactly.
But he's crazy because he's been poked and fucked with
right.
by everybody sitting around him.
Well, and it also doesn't help that we now have an executive branch that's constantly being like, fuck Russia, fuck you. Like, they're saying like, fuck you, you stupid bitch.
It's like in his ear. Yeah. Like, little pussy-ass bitch.
Little pussy-ass bitch, what are you going to do?
While they're, like, handing money and weapons to the guy who's beating his ass. You would feel some type of way about that.
Right, exactly.
You would.
It's like, instead of, like, trying to de-escalate the situation, which is what you should actively do, because we have, I don't know, nuclear weapons that could destroy the world, like, 100 times over.
Yeah, blow it to fucking smithereens.
Right.
And not just us in Russia, fucking everybody.
And the thing that, like, amazes me is how many people now are like, yo, fuck Russia, we'll fuck you up. It's like, listen, you want no part of this war. Nobody wants any part of this war. If it comes down to like us versus Russia, nukes are going to start flying.
Yeah.
If you don't think that that's the case, you're fucking out of your mind.
If the United States military ever made landfall inside Russian borders, that's it. That's fucking game over for everyone.
Right.
Not to say that we would lose. It's just the nukes are going to start flying.
Yeah, nobody wins. It's like, we wouldn't lose.
Yeah.
Or we would lose, and everybody else would lose too.
Yeah, everybody lost.
Yeah, everybody loses.
Yeah. They would fire nukes at us, we'd fire nukes at them. But because we fired nukes at them, their allies would fire nukes at us. And then our allies would fire nukes at those allies.
Right. And then you have Japan and China looking at each other.
Yeah. And it just like fucking kicks off.
Right, exactly. Then you have World War III, and essentially you have the Axis powers, which would probably end up being like all of the Middle East, Russia,
Korea.
China, North Korea. Versus like everybody else.
Yeah. There's that old saying that I don't know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Right.
Because if another world war broke out, we're just going to nuke each other.
Right.
Because think about it. Like, we have technology to intercept ICBMs and things like that, but it's very expensive technology. It's never been field tested before. In like a real live fire situation. So like, we have defenses against these kinds of things, but if like everybody just starts firing off nukes at everyone,
right,
what do you do?
Well, you also have like hypersonic weapon systems now.
Yeah.
which you can't shoot them down.
Yeah, because it's moving faster at the speed of sound.
Yeah.
And it's up like above the ozone layer, and it can't be tracked by satellites if it's flying higher than a fucking satellite.
Right.
And people are really hand wavy about this thing too.
Right.
Like people are like they kind of, and maybe they do it just to make themselves feel better, but they're like, oh well, they would never fire at us because we'd fire at them. It was like, well, that's how a logical person thinks.
Right.
Yeah. But when you're a fucking insane despot, you're not thinking like a logical person.
Don't give a fuck about that.
I don't give a fuck about that. I'm fucking crazy. I got nothing to lose, motherfucker. You're just going to start shooting your fucking missiles. It doesn't matter how bad we don't want it or how bad the Russian civilians don't want it.
And don't think for a second that they would just fire one. They would fire multiple.
Yeah, because if you fire one, you might as well fire.
Yeah, you might as well just go ahead and bust your whole fucking load and be done with it.
Because, and honestly, if you're going to fire at one person, and you know that
you might as well go ahead and fire at everybody.
Yeah, and you know all their friends are going to turn around and fire back at you.
Right.
You might as well fire at them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like there's just a big red button and you smash it and they all fucking go up.
So like
there's like thousands of missiles just going up into the air. Like, it's over.
Could you imagine how fucking terrifying that would be? I mean, like, you know, they have those silos and stuff like kind of peppered all out the continental U.S.
Right.
And like, you know, there's one over in what's that fort that we always used to go through in Alabama?
Oh, Benning?
Fort Benning.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one there that we know of.
Yeah.
But they're fucking peppered everywhere, and they have like hydraulic lids on them.
Yeah, like out in like Wyoming and like out like the prairies and all that stuff, like in like South Dakota, North Dakota. Yeah.
So you could just like be like hiking along the Pacific Trail or whatever. Like, oh, what a beautiful day! And then all of a sudden, columns of fire erupt as far as the eye can see.
Right.
And it's just missiles going up into the air, and you're just standing there with your stick, like, that's game over. Everybody just wait to die now. How fucking terrifying is that?
Right. Yeah, you're looking at
to know that we're on the precipice of that.
Yeah, you're looking. I keep waiting every day for the Fallout Vault guy to come by my house.
Yeah. Yeah. But if it's anything like the games, that's really not that great of an option
exactly.
either.
That's better than what, you know?
There's a dude over in Texas. I can't remember the name of his business, but he makes these like prefabbed Fallout bunkers.
Yeah.
And I watched a bunch of videos, and I went to his website and looked at some of the stuff he does. And it's really cool. He'll have like, he's got one like called like the Florida, and it's like several different. It's got several stories.
Yeah,
it's all prefabbed metal, and they bring it out and they bury it on your land or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's got like a air filtration.
They like hit a gas line and everything blows up.
It's got like an air filtration system and a water filtration system, so that you can constantly have like water pulled from the what do you call that? The layer underneath the crust or whatever.
Right.
So you have fresh water coming in and like, you know, so like you could potentially just live in this thing.
Right.
But, you know, I'm sorry, you could survive in this thing.
Yeah, you're not really doing much living.
You're not really doing a whole lot of living.
Yeah.
Not really much living
when
you're in a shipping container buried underground.
Right.
So it's like, is it really better to just prolong the inevitable?
Right.
Because like, what if something happens to you down there? You can't go out and go see a doctor.
Right.
There's no more doctors.
Right. It's like, you've ever seen that part in Castaway where Tom Hanks whacks that septic tooth out of his mouth with yeah, that's gonna be you.
Yeah. You're going to be down there with your fucked up tooth.
When you run out of Crest.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no machine that's making toothpaste for you.
Right.
And what happens if your air filtration system breaks? It's a machine. It'll do that.
Right.
Now you have stagnant air down there until you run out of oxygen.
Right.
What if, what if something happens and like a dead rat falls in the water outside of your thing, and now you got dead rat water coming into your bunker? But, you know, also the thing is, like, I don't particularly want to die in nuclear fire either.
No.
And what's really sad about it, too, is, like, you know, that's probably the most likely end for everybody, is we all just destroy each other in some big crazy-ass war.
Right.
Because, you know, we have the capacity to do that now, and we have had the capacity to do that since the 60s.
Right.
And it's just been a matter
almost
of
100 years at this point.
almost 100 years.
And it's actually pretty amazing that we haven't done it yet.
Yeah. So it's like, it's sad to think about, like, there's a lot of stuff that we're, like, really close to, like, understanding about our reality.
Right.
That, we might not ever have a chance to know or to discover.
Right.
Because the people who are trying to better humanity are such a fucking teeny tiny little fraction of the population.
Right.
And then the big part of it's concerned with going to clubs. And then, like, the flaky layer on the outside is a bunch of insane world leaders pointing nuclear weapons at each other. It's like that article I sent you the other day. Did you read that about the?
I read some of it until Autumn woke up, and then I didn't get to read any more of it.
So it was talking about what they call entangled particles, quantum entanglement or whatever. So we had said before, like when you start getting down to the teeny tiny scale of the universe, like quarks and shit, like photons, stuff stops making sense because it's just the way that we measure things.
Right.
And basically what it means is if they were talking about like entangled particles, they determine the state of one another. So they call it spin up and spin down, basically like just two states that a particle can exist in. And if these two entangled particles, go in different directions, no matter what the distance is, when you measure the one that went this way, you automatically know the state of the one that went that way.
Right.
It's like if there was two boxes, right? And one of the boxes had a piece of paper in it. And you took a box and I took a box. And we drove to as far away from each other as we could get. If I open my box and I don't have the paper, that lets me know, he's got the one that's got the paper in it. But you would think that would be pretty consistent. But it's not when you start talking about quantum particles.
Right.
So the fact that something as simple as that doesn't work on that level means that there's a lot that we don't understand. So it's also kind of scary because that's such a simple thing. It's like up is no longer up anymore.
Right.
So what don't we know?
Right. Well, I know that they've talked about like photons before, how like when light is emitted from a certain point, like that photon exists out of time and space.
Yeah.
So that photon has existed and will always have existed in this place and in this place at the same time.
Yeah. Which is fucking bizarre. That just fucking...
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, and we can't figure out why.
Right.
So it's, when I start thinking, that's really the only thing that kind of like gives me like into kind of existential, like weirdness or whatever. Like my own, like, dying or whatever, that's whatever. And you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But like things not working the way they're supposed to and nobody knowing why.
Yeah.
Like reality.
Like there could be a tear in the fabric of reality.
Yeah, that what? Like we're not prepared as a species to handle this. Like if somebody points a gun at me, like I know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody points a gun at me and like a weasel flies out of the barrel and like bites my cock off. That would be scarier than if they shot me with an actual bullet. At least that makes sense. I knew that was going to happen. Ever tell you about the time that Mary's mom almost shot me?
Oh, yeah. I remember you said you like came in late like one night or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like Mary's mom, like when we were first dating or whatever, all of our schedules were kind of goofy. Mm-hmm. Just like we were all at different times with what was going on in our lives. And, I mean, it's just our jobs. It's not like we were going through anything. No. But, like, her mom...
You weren't, like, at the methadone clinic or something like that.
Her mom, she worked at Lockheed Martin. Mm-hmm. And so, like, her hours, like, her shift was from, like, 5 a.m. to whenever. So she lives an hour and a half away, so she's up at, like, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I happened to be getting over to Mary's house kind of at the same time as her, and we were... just going to meet there. But at the same time, her mom was getting up. Right. Her mom didn't know I was coming over. Right. So I walked in the back door, and I'm trying to be real quiet.
Right. like a burglar.
Yeah, exactly. And so I opened the door, and then I closed it real quietly, and I hear, and I look, and I can see her mom pointing a gun at me, and like a silhouette of her doing this. And it's like from here to like, I don't know, 10 feet away.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's me. She was like, oh, hey. And she just goes back in her room. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. There was another time where I was coming in through the back door, and I had texted Mary's mom.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm going to come over right quick. And I guess she never looked at her phone.
Yeah.
So I was walking up onto the back porch.
You're like trying to make a lot of noise.
Well, I was trying to be more obvious.
Like playing a trumpet.
Yeah. Like a fanfare announcing me. So I was on the back porch, and her mom was going to let her dogs out. And she had 3 little chihuahuas. And her mom opens the door and then flips on the back porch light, and I'm standing there. And she goes, ah! Like that. And she goes to close the door. But one of the dogs is like halfway out the door. And so she can't get the door shut. And she finally... It's like a little chihuahua. And she finally like opens the door and kicks the chihuahua out the door and slaps it.
Oh, God. I'd have been dying laughing.
I was fucking losing it. I went upstairs to Mary, and like 15 minutes passed before I could tell her what happened because I was laughing so hard.
She kicked the dog out the door.
She did. She was like, just sacrificed the dog and slammed the door shut.
It's sort of like when there's like that viral video where that kid's trying to kill that rat with the broom or whatever.
While him and the cat are in the bathroom. And it's just unbridled terror.
The cat gets caught at the door.
Yeah, it was pretty much exactly like that. But I mean, that's a scary thing, right? People breaking into your house,
right,
while you're home or whatever, and I mean, even if she had shot me, I couldn't necessarily be mad at her. I probably would have done the same thing.
Right.
Somebody's sneaking into my house in the back door. I'm gonna fucking cap them.
Right.
So I mean, that was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced, is somebody pointing a loaded gun at me. Because it's a real thing that can happen.
Right. I was like, oh, there's death chambered in that thing right now.
Yeah, pointed directly at me. I watched a video today about a guy who was he was on a Greyhound bus.
People still do that?
Well, this was like from the 90s or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It was like a news reporter was talking to him about it, and he was talking about how he was sitting there, he was reading a book, and all of a sudden he started hearing everybody scream on the bus.
Yeah.
And so he looks up and he looks to his left, and the dude that was sitting next to him, the person across the aisle, because it's 2 seats or whatever, the person across the aisle had stood up and walked over to the guy sitting directly next to him and had like a Rambo knife and was plunging it into the dude's throat over and over and over, like stabbing him in the throat. And so everybody's freaking out. And he scrambles to get out of the, because you think you're sitting there, right?
Yeah.
There's a wall on this side, and there's a guy getting stabbed on this side.
Right.
So you're probably like, I need to get the fuck out of this situation. So they end up pulling the bus over and getting everybody off, and they locked that dude in the bus. And he's like walking around, and he's like screaming, being crazy. And the person that he stabbed to death, he sawed their head off.
Jesus.
And was showing it to the people standing outside the bus. So it's like, at any point during the day when you're around all the people outside,
right,
you could be
next to that guy.
You could be next to the throat stabber,
right?
Or you could be the guy who gets his head cut off, or
or you could be,
could be the guy that stabs somebody in the throat. You have a particularly bad day, and like that wire just ting, and that's it. So the real world is scary. It is.
Right. Yeah, everybody, I guess, I think just everybody's like so removed from like the harsh reality of like what nature is that everybody feels like this whole like insulated, like comfy lifestyle.
Right.
You know, I'm part of it. I get to work from home.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I mean, everything is automated and convenient.
Right.
And, you don't really struggle for anything.
No, why is my DoorDash order not getting to me quick enough?
Yeah. It's, I mean, your life can be cut short.
Right. Just like that.
Just like that. In a horribly brutal way.
Right.
I mean, when the nukes start crashing into the earth, like I said, I want to be directly underneath one.
Right. I'm going to run towards it.
Yeah, I want to be the guy who's vaporized instantly.
Right.
I don't want to, live in the fallout and have to deal with the infrastructure being down and
right.
There's no hospitals anymore and
bands of like crazy people,
like raiders, like Mad Max raiders. What's that? What did they call that one? They had like a dude on the front that had a guitar. Yeah. The Boof Wagon. Yeah, I don't want to.
You mean like spray like silver stuff? Witness me!
Witness me! Witnessed! You remember This Is the End?
Yeah, that was a good one.
I was thinking about that the other day. One of my favorite parts in that movie is when they all confront Danny McBride. And he's got that gimp on a leash. He was like, I don't give a fuck. I do whatever I want. I fuck this dude. And the gimp takes his mask off and it's Channing Tatum. And he just goes, I love him.
My favorite part of that whole movie was where Danny McBride, he's wearing oh shit, who was it? It wasn't Seth Rogen. What's the other one? It was in Pineapple Express with him.
James Franco.
James Franco. He's wearing his like tuxedo.
Yeah.
And he's like, I provided you with this nice magazine, and you're jerking off all over the pages. He's like, you got iPads in the walls and shit, and I got to jerk off like a fucking pilgrim.
Oh, God. But I mean, like, stuff like that, it was like, like a prophesized into the world.
Right.
Like, I never really paid any kind of mind to that stuff.
Yeah.
Part of it could be because, my faith would have me believe, in the Bible it says, of that time and of that day, no man knows the hour.
Right.
Basically saying that nobody, like, if anybody ever comes up to you and is like, oh, I know when the world's going to end.
They're lying.
They're lying.
Yeah.
At least that's what my book says. I don't know about y'all's book or whatever. But, like, how many Christians, televangelists and everything like that have come on TV and saying, like, here's the exact time and date that, this is going to happen.
Well, they're trying to make their money.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like that, was it Harold Camping or whatever that did it like 3 times?
Yeah. He's like, I know I got it wrong the last 2 times, but I'm pretty certain.
And people were taking advantage of it and selling afterlife insurance. Like policies for like $3 million. I remember there was one like 2 years ago where they were like a rogue planet is going to crash into the Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell you how many people like in my immediate like circle like were telling me that was going to happen.
Well, I remember 2012 was a big one.
Oh,
that was
the
like,
Mayan calendar.
That was like the biggest one.
Yeah, the Mayan calendar.
Right, they even had like a movie about it.
They did, didn't they? With John Cusack.
Yeah, John Cusack was in it.
You know what's really funny about that movie? The happy ending is that all the billionaires and politicians lived.
Right. He's not happy at all. Yeah. Yeah.
Yay.
They're like in those huge arc things, and there's like people like drowning.
They're just on a cruise.
Yeah. And like there's like 3 people on the top of Everest.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that scene in Did you see Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio? That's a fantastic fucking movie, by the way.
Yeah.
But like at the end of that movie, all spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but the people who manage to escape the planet are like, 80-year-old CEOs and like politicians and like not people who can like repopulate humanity. Right. It's just a bunch of rich fucks.
Right.
That saved their own asses.
Right.
And in all reality, that's likely what would happen.
Right.
They wouldn't get like samples from population centers and like preserve humanity as a species.
Right.
They would take it as like the perfect opportunity to get rid of the untouchables.
Yeah. Ugh.
Ew. You drive a sedan.
You drive. You don't have a driver.
Like one of the I almost said Caitlyn Jenner. That was not been right. One of the Kardashians got busted recently for taking a 3-minute long jet flight, like several times a week, like 40 miles or something like that. Like,
yeah, that's just anytime I see like an actor or an actress or somebody that like is like real big in Hollywood or something like that, trying to tell me like how I should be doing things. Like, I don't really want to hear it from you.
We're not living the same life.
Yeah, we're not living the same life.
Yeah, and how dare you tell me that like I need to make changes to my life in order to save the environment?
Right.
When you're out there dumping all the CO2 into the air with your 3-minute long jet flight.
Right.
Like, get the fuck over yourself.
Like, have you seen the smog in some of those places in China?
Yeah. Like, how important are you that you couldn't spare 57 minutes of your day to take the 1-hour drive to get to where it was you were going?
Right.
Yeah, the smog in China is a big thing too. Like, do you remember there was that guy who like made a solid brick?
Yeah.
He walked around with a vacuum cleaner, just sucking up the air outside, and made a solid brick out of the shit that came out of it.
Yeah, there's no telling. Like, if you were to go over there and probably like take some vital readings from some of those people that live in that shit, it's probably insane.
Yeah,
well, there's all kinds of cancer and everything else.
Well, those people walk around. You ever see like videos of people over there? They're always wearing masks. Even before COVID happened, they were always wearing masks.
Right.
Because you probably get fucking sick if you went outside for 4 minutes.
Right.
How fucking dystopian is that?
Yeah.
So if we somehow manage not to nuke ourselves into oblivion in the next 20 years or whatever, the fucking Earth is fucked.
Yeah. Either way, it's so like the thing that like all the the elite people over here do is they like poo like on like the normal American people. They're like, ugh, like you need
just trying to survive.
Yeah, you need to like fix yourself.
Yeah,
like you're the reason why all this is fucked. And then it's like, but they refuse to acknowledge that they didn't want all that industry over here.
Yeah,
all that yucky industry that they don't like. So they're like, they gave it to all those poor people in China.
Yeah,
and it's like, but you don't want to acknowledge that over there.
Yeah,
say we're not trying to fix that.
Yeah, you move the problem. It's still,
Yeah, it's still a problem. It's just on the other side of the planet.
It's like if you were like cooking like, flaming Alaska, right?
Right.
On your stove, and it caught on fire. It was a big fire, out of control fire. And you just like, I don't know what to do with this. So you took it to the guest bedroom and laid it on the bed and then closed the door. It's no longer a problem. It's just somewhere else.
Right.
And it's eventually going to make its way over here.
And then to come into like the living room and then look at the people in the living room and be like, y'all are living the wrong fucking life.
Yeah, you need to stop watching TV. You're the reason it's so hot in here. Yes, I mean that's scary to think about too. I mean, like think of how delicate the ecosystem is.
Right. And I'm just really not interested in taking any type of criticism from somebody who has butt implants. I'm not interested in that at all.
You put silicone in your ass, your opinion no longer matters to me.
Exactly.
I mean,
Hollywood is such a weird place.
It's not the real world. Those people don't live in the same world as us. How could they ever tell me what I'm supposed to do?
Right.
Ever. Never. In a million years would I ever listen to
you. Y'all are busy over there blowing Harvey Weinstein while people out here are trying to make a living. And
then you turn around and you blow some kid.
Right, exactly.
Bunch of fucking pedophiles over there. Flying out to Epstein's Island, fucking dumping all that CO2 in the air on the way over there. And you fuck some like 12-year-old in the ass and turn around and tell me I'm a bad person.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to go to work.
Like, you drive a pickup truck? Ew.
Ew. You're destroying the planet.
Ugh. It's such like, I wonder if it's just like they're so removed from it. Like it's sort of like,
They're just getting high off their own supply.
Right.
Like they believe that they are the paragons of humanity.
Right.
They believe that.
It's sort of like, they're like just so socially inept. Like they don't quite fucking get it anymore.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, have you ever seen the interview that Mark Zuckerberg did, and he had like a Sweet Baby Ray's, like
in the background,
barbecue sauce, like on the bookshelf in the background.
Yeah.
It's like, the fuck are you doing?
No, this is where the humans keep their barbecue sauce. On the bookshelf for ease of access. Do you remember when it came out that guy was taking classes on how to appear more human?
No.
At least he's trying. I mean, he's making an effort to not look like a lizard person.
Whoever his teacher is needs to tell him to get that fucking barbecue sauce off the bookshelf. I remember he did like this like Facebook Live thing. He's like, I'm all about the smoked meats.
Oh yeah, where he was like
ugh.
He's like sitting in a backyard or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had like a smoker behind him.
Yeah.
I remember that video because he's sitting there staring into the camera and he had the same expression on throughout the entire thing. It never changed. He just kept saying smoked meats. And you're like, I don't think those human classes are working out for you, man.
Speaking of famous people, I saw a thing on YouTube. I don't know why it got recommended to me, but do you remember the girl from Kick-Ass?
Oh, it's Chloe something.
Yeah. Did you see I guess...
Where they photoshopped that?
They put her next to the Family Guy Peter Griffin thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, you know what? I mean,
it's just funny.
It's just funny. Like, come on. Like you're like a celebrity.
Right.
Why do you care what the small folk are saying, right?
Probably some jackass from like Des Moines, Iowa.
Some 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Who 5 minutes prior was like yelling racial slurs at somebody on the Xbox.
Exactly.
Why are you so concerned with what he's saying? But yes, that was fucking hilarious. It's funny because the picture, like the original picture, she's pretty leggy in the original picture.
Right.
Like she's wearing like a black, I think it's called a romper.
Yeah.
And it's
pretty high cut.
It's pretty high cut. Like there's a lot of leg showing. So somebody just photoshopped it to where she was like 80% leg. It's like her tits are like on her hips. She was talking about like, she was like, I couldn't come out of my house for weeks at a time. I was like, because of like one Photoshop picture?
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on. Like you can't be that sheltered.
Yeah.
You
I just
can't.
don't.
It's like if you were exposed to even half the shit I was exposed to,
Right.
like growing up, some of the names I've been called,
Right.
and like the things I've endured,
Right.
Like what would you do? Would you just snap and would you break entirely?
Well, I think
If you're going to be in the public eye, you got to have thick skin.
Well, I think too that being exposed to that kind of shit, especially like as a teenager, because growing up in like the public school system, like you had better learn how to take a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the public school...
And they'll see to it because children are awful.
Yes, they are. They are. They're unhinged little maniacs.
Yeah.
That you can no longer discipline.
Right.
It's illegal to discipline them. I mean, yeah, it was like a big bar fight the whole time.
Right.
I mean, really, it was. And I'm not saying that, it's okay to make fun of people. You shouldn't make fun of people. But you also need to understand that people are going to make fun of you. That's going to happen.
Right.
I don't care who you are. Someone's not going to like you. Right. Someone's going to say something mean towards you. Somebody's going to say something really out of pocket and really awful.
Right.
And you just have to fucking let it roll off your back.
Yep.
because you can't appeal to these people and say, hey, that made me feel bad. Could you please stop? And they're just going to pile on and it's going to get worse.
Oh, it did.
Like, so the thing I did worked?
Yeah, exactly.
Good to know.
Yeah. Well, it's just sort of like amazing to me that sort of, like when you talk about like the counselors and everything, it's like the counselors know that what they're telling you does not fucking work.
They know.
They know it doesn't fucking work.
Yep.
And so why are you telling me this?
Because that's what they've been fed from the state.
Exactly.
The state tells them this is what you have to say to the kids. Right. And they just like download the shit from the state and they turn around and they just fucking blare into the kid.
There you go.
And the kid's like, this doesn't work.
They're like, have you tried telling them that it hurt your feelings? Oh, that's all I got.
That's all right. That's all the troubleshooting I can do.
It's like, let me open up this email from the state.
Let's see what our government overlords say will work. I don't see anything here about punching them in the throat really hard. Oh, that's what he did to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember
I mean, I think it's gotten a little bit better from like when we were in high school.
Yeah.
And I think when we were in high school, it wasn't as bad as like when our parents were in high school.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I think on the whole, kids nowadays are a lot more aware of like, you know. I think that they're still being shitty to each other, but in different ways.
Right.
They're not being shitty to each other, like, you know, they're not making fun of like people's like sexuality and like race and things as much as like that was like a big prevalent thing when we were in kids, but. Now it's like, you know, they'll make fun of each other for like, not for like their moms having an OnlyFans or something like that. It's just they're growing up in a different world. There's a different type of, you know, poking fun at each other. But on the whole, I think that kids are more respectful towards one another these days. Right. And also like the Gen Z population have like this solidarity with one another. Right. That like our generation does not have. No. Like we're lashing. The millennials lash out at everyone else and also at each other. Right. Gen Z is like only lashing out at everyone else. Right. Like they hardly ever turn in on one another. That from an outsider looking in, that's how I see it.
What is interesting, because I feel like you're coming up on the end of like, the millennials are out of the college age, like pretty much. Like that's. They've come and gone. So I guess we're really at the beginning of the Gen Z people
like era
getting out of college and going into the workforce, right?
They're going to be the new like avocado toast butt joke.
Right, exactly.
So welcome. Yeah. Enjoy that.
Yeah. Maybe you'd have enough money to buy a house if you quit buying all that avocado toast.
And you know what? The boomers are on to something, because the people who were going and buying avocado toast were genuinely insufferable. Right. Sorry, but you were.
Yeah. I don't... Like, yeah, the boomers had a couple of good points. Yeah. But for the most part...
They also grew up in a way different world than we did.
Exactly.
And the shit that we grew up in, the world we grew up in, and the way things worked by the time we got to it was totally different.
It's totally different. It's not the same.
Than how they left it.
Right.
We inherited a much different world.
Right.
And the same thing's probably going to happen to the generation previous.
Yeah, when Autumn gets old enough to where she's going out into the workforce, I'm sure it will look completely different than it did when I went into the workforce.
And it's crazy to think that one day Autumn is going to be like, man, these kids these days are fucking awful.
Exactly. And it's just a cycle. Yeah. And it just cycles.
And you're going to be laying there like, I told you.
Like, how do I convert a memory?
Yeah.
To like, well, can I convert a memory to an MP3? Like, I gotta tell you how to do this again.
MP3s, Dad? Yeah. Come on. Like, what is this, the Stone Age? We drink our movies nowadays. You get a needle in the mill from Net Needle, and you just stick it in your arm and squeeze it in there. You're just like, RoboCop 12. Oh. It makes you feel like you've seen the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder what like dystopian future.
I think it's gonna get pretty whacked. Yeah. Pretty whacked. I think like by the time you're, because like, you know, the thing
always
always
be like a cyberpunk type deal.
I don't know if it's gonna be like that. I think it's just gonna be gray. I think everything's gonna be great. Like I think I said before, like Mary had a great grandmother who lived to be 105.
Yeah.
And like think of all the shit.
That's a totally different world.
Oh yeah, like 10 times over.
He's like, I'm in this alien world. Like
I don't recognize anything anymore. This fucking clown world. I live in a circus. Like the shit that you see change in 105 fucking years. That's she was around before the cars.
Right.
Before somebody had the first wait coming down the brick road.
Yeah, some dude in a top hat driving a T Model Ford with a handlebar
mustache. And like the big stick steering wheel. Like he had to like turn it. So I mean, like if you or if I lived another 70 years and I made it to 100, like hell, even like just from being a kid to being 30.
Right, it's changed
so much. It's almost unrecognizable.
Right.
Of course, it's a post 9/11 world. 9/11 changed a lot of things. But
well, just think from like a pop culture standpoint. Like when we were kids growing up, like nobody gave a fuck about how much sugar was in anything.
No,
didn't give a fuck about that. Like pack more sugar in it.
Yeah, more sugar, extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Like we brought up had one time Surge Cola.
Yeah,
or it's like
should be called sludge.
Yeah,
soda.
sludge soda. Like it was like 57 grams of sugar in a can of Coke.
That's fucking insane. That's insanity.
Right. And everything had like the extreme label on it.
Yeah.
Like everything was like extreme this or extreme that. And they just like crammed as much sugar as they could into it.
Yeah. Then
fuck these kids.
Yeah. Get them all high on sugar and send them to school.
Right.
Yeah. Breakfast food, like frozen breakfast food with all the preservatives.
Oh, yeah.
They just fed us poison for years.
Right.
Because that's what was affordable. That's what was available.
Right. Well, but like that compared to like now where people are I think people are more health conscious now just because like, fuck, when we were growing up, that's such like bad eating habits.
Yeah.
That like as a kid, like nobody knew any better.
Yeah.
Like everybody was like, oh, just fucking eat the food.
Yeah.
Just eat the fucking food that we put in front of you. That way you can like keep living.
Yeah.
So
you at least stay alive for a while.
So, but like now people are more health conscious of like, oh, I need to make sure, especially too, like you remember the at the food pyramid, they're like the most important thing on the food pyramid
is like bread.
Is bread.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Fucking bread?
Bread? Like, that's what you decided?
It's like 60% of my caloric intake needs to be carbs. And then like the very top was like oil.
Yeah.
Make sure you get that oil in there too. Well, lube you up and nice and good.
Whereas like nowadays, like it's pretty common knowledge that like you can have carbs, but not all carbs are equal.
Right.
Like there's a difference between like eating, I don't know, like some white bread.
Yeah, like a slice of Wonder Bread.
Yeah, as opposed to like a sweet potato or something like that. Right? And then not only that, but it's also important, like your protein intake should probably be pretty high because that satiates you more than anything else.
Yeah.
But not only that,
it's more calorie dense.
It's more calorie dense than anything else. And then also too, it's like there's 2 kilocalories per gram of whatever it is that your body it gets rid of it. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's not using it for anything.
Yeah, it's just waste.
It's just waste. So it satiates you more. It goes further, and that your body actually has to burn calories in order to process that food.
Yeah. It's not the same thing as eating a whole loaf of bread for breakfast.
Right.
Which is what they told us to do.
Instead of being like, I'm going to eat 5 bagels this morning.
Yeah. And a glass of whole milk. That way I'm nice and dense when I get to work. Just fucking backed up. I feel like probably one of the big things that a lot of people miss out on in their diet is fiber.
Yeah.
Fiber is so important.
Right.
So important. Because you are not supposed to have poop in you. That's why your body gets rid of it.
Right.
You're not supposed to be in there.
Yeah, it's toxic.
Yeah. And, a lot of people nowadays, their diet is extremely high in fat and processed sugars and things, which makes your poop very, like tacky and pasty.
Right.
And, fiber does the exact opposite. It makes your poop very solid and hard, and it comes out easy. And you don't have to sit there and wipe your ass for 20 hours.
Right. It's like pretty much like all like vegetables have a lot of fiber in them.
Yeah, like apples are like packed with fiber.
Right.
Like you might as well just eat a fucking wood chip.
Well, I remember like for a little while there, everybody was like, "Well, you don't want to eat too many fruit because fruit have a lot of sugar in them."
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but it's not the same as like drinking 5 cans of fucking Coke.
Yeah. Like natural sugar from an apple is not the same thing as fucking corn syrup made in a lab. By an evil man in a white coat.
It's like I'm pretty certain that if you went around eating apples all day, you wouldn't. If you ate like one apple and then like drank 3 or 4 fucking Cokes, and it's like I just don't know why I can't get rid of this weight. It's not good. It's not coming off. It has to be the apple. I gotta cut that apple out.
It's like some dude on my 600-pound life. He's just got like bushels of apples all around him. He's just like, I can't stop. I gotta eat the apples. John's massive weight increase is directly linked to the apples he consumes.
Well, it's not only that, but a lot of it is too. Is like if you just ate whole foods, like stuff that's naturally occurring, like meat and vegetables and fruit. I guarantee you, like if that's all you ate and you didn't eat anything processed, if you didn't have like any type of like processed bread or any type of like cereal, because cereal's super processed, it's got a lot of sugar in it. It's like if you just ate whole foods, if you just ate whole fruit, whole vegetables, and meat.
Yeah.
If that's the only thing that you ate, you'd probably be pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much it is that you eat. And I think a lot of it is too is when people go on diets, they do like this elimination diet, or they'll do like a diet where
they
they're going
cut out this.
Yeah, where they're like restrict their calories a lot. It's like probably what would be more beneficial is if you change the way that you eat things that are healthy that you enjoy eating.
Yeah.
So like why don't you like eat more meat, or why don't you eat more vegetables?
Right.
But don't restrict it so much. Why don't you just eat a whole bunch of that?
Yeah.
So that you get used to eating that way, and then you can start pulling back on it.
Right. Well, I think though, because weight loss is a direct result of a calorie deficit.
Yeah, it's calories in versus calories out.
It's simple math. So it's like if you ate, if you only ate 1,200 calories of McDonald's a day, but you burned 2,000 calories throughout your day, you would lose weight, but you would be in horrible health.
Right.
Because all you ate was McDonald's. But if you ate 1,200 calories of like apples and like dark greens, like spinach and things high in iron and like lots of fiber, you would feel fantastic and you would also lose weight. So it's, I have known some people in my life who are skinny, yes, but are in horrible health. All they eat is Taco Bell.
Right.
And it's like, they're much skinnier than me, yes, but they're also like, I have no energy. I feel depressed. I'm like, well, that's because you eat poison day in, day out.
Well, everything's just so processed, and it's got all these preservatives and everything in it.
Well, it's hard to get away from that stuff.
Yeah, well, it's so readily available, and that stuff is so easy. It's just the ease of access to it.
And it has long shelf life.
Right.
So it's like it makes good financial sense to buy those things, like cereal and stuff like that. Fuck, they told us that Frosted Flakes is what athletes eat.
Right.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
It's fucking puffed corn with sugar on it.
Right. It's like, wasn't it like the big thing was like the like if you like won the Olympics and like one of like the major events or whatever, like you got your face put on a Wheaties box.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like the champions of the Olympics eat Wheaties.
Do they?
Yeah, do they?
Yeah.
Or it's like the Olympics brought to you by Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola liquid sugar.
Like, hey, you fat fuck, you'll never achieve anything like these people.
Unless you drink Coke. And you're just sitting there staring at your TV like, oh, I guess they're right.
Right.
Go grab me
and
a
I'm
Coke.
not saying that you can't ever, like, you shouldn't ever have these things. Like, it's fine to eat them.
But you have to understand it's not food.
You have to understand that what you're eating
Yeah.
is not actual food.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, hey, like, I've been eating really good for like a month.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to have a cheat meal.
Yeah.
And then you go and you have your cheat meal and you eat whatever it is that you want to eat. And then to go be like, okay, I've done that now. Now it's time to get back on it.
Right.
And then once you get back on, like what your normal eating habits are.
Right.
Because to think of it as a diet would be there's a beginning and an end to this.
Yeah.
Where there shouldn't be a beginning and an end to it. It's just how you eat.
Yeah, you should just change the way that you eat.
Yeah, just change the way that you eat.
Yeah. Well, I'm very clearly I'm not the picture of perfect health or anything, but like I understand what's good for me and what's bad for me.
Right.
But the thing is, the stuff that's good for me is usually a lot more difficult to get and more expensive.
Right.
And like, processed foods and things with like long shelf lives and like frozen meals and stuff that's so convenient and time saving.
Right.
Is like, myself and like most other Americans, like 90% of other Americans are going to go for the cheaper things.
Right.
And the easy things. Because I don't have fucking time to, I can't have just food being such a large part of my time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I know, like usually what I try to do is like on Saturdays or on Sundays. I try to do it on Sundays, but like I'll kind of get whatever. Like for lunches, I usually do like some brown rice and like some meat, and that's just what I eat for lunch. I eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going into a calorie deficit because of this.
Yeah.
It's like, but this is a better option for me to eat than to eat like a bologna sandwich or something like that.
Yeah, when you live 2 minutes away from McDonald's and Taco Bell.
Exactly.
Just over there like, hey, we're over here. Right. Super simple, super easy, in and out. We got you taken care of.
Right. So, but you have to make like a conscious decision or a conscious choice to be like, on Sunday, I'm going to cook up all this like ground meat.
Yeah.
I'm going to cook it up. I'm going to save it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to stick some brown rice in the Instapot. We'll cook that up and we're going to store that in the fridge for the rest of the week.
Yeah. And a lot of people, too, I think, fail at diets because a lot of times people have like this idea of, I want to lose this insane amount of weight.
Right.
I have never once in my life displayed the kind of like dedication and discipline that it would take to reach that, but I'm going to do it. And a lot of times, like people, and like I've done it several times myself, is like you start into this diet, you start into this like exercise routine, and you just shed weight. It just falls off of you.
Right.
Like the first like 10, 20 pounds just comes right off.
Right.
Everything after that, once your body has adjusted to what it is you're doing now, it's like just chipping away at a rock.
Right.
And then they get defeated. And
Right.
they're like, oh, well, I can't do it.
Right.
And they just fall back into their thing.
Also, too, that's like a mindset, though, is to be like, well, I'm going to go on this diet. I'm going to do these crazy workouts and everything. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm going to shed all this weight, and I'm going to get to the ideal body that it is that I want to have. It's like, well, once you get there, then
what?
Then what? What are you going to do then?
It doesn't stay there.
It does, yeah. You can't be like, oh, well, I'm done now, so
I'm going to go right back to eating KFC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So really what you kind of have to do is you have to make a change in sort of like a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
You have to go, no,
you have to change.
Yeah, you have to be like, no, these are the things that I do now.
Yeah.
This is the person that I am now.
You have to be a lot more daunting.
Right. And it doesn't have to be crazy workouts and all this other shit. It's like eat a little bit healthier. But when you eat healthier, eat a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
That way you are full. You are satiated.
Yeah.
And not only that, when you do that, it's like, just go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because I guarantee you that people are like, well, I have to go for a run and then I have to like go lift weights and all this stuff.
I got to kill myself at the gym.
It's like, no, because if you go for like a 15-minute walk every day, that's 15 more minutes of walking or exercise that you weren't doing.
Yeah.
So if you just went for a walk.
And every little bit helps.
And I guarantee you, once you start going for a 15-minute walk every day, you're probably going to extend that and go for longer walks.
And that's, walking is like, it sounds ridiculous, but a lot of people don't really understand like how good it is for you.
That is the number one way to burn fat.
Yeah, it's like just move your legs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about your body, right? Everything from the waist down, it's legs. It's legs all the way down. Unless you're that girl, and then it's like legs from the tits down. But that's half of your body that you're exercising.
Right.
And it's not difficult to do.
Well, also, too, when your body burns, like, what happens is, so, like, if you're sprinting, right, it's not using the same calorie storage for sprinting as it is for, like, really slow running or walking. When you're doing really slow running or walking, it uses fat. So it's burning fat before it goes into your carbohydrate stores.
Yeah.
But if you're sprinting and everything, and you're using a whole lot of your muscles, and you're using a lot of
different muscle groups,
different muscle groups and everything like that, it goes into your carbohydrate storage, and it grabs that, and that's what it's using.
I read this thing the other day that they were talking about how people, like, there's different areas of your brain that activate depending on what exercise you're doing, what physical activity you're doing. And they were talking about how when you sprint, no matter what, when you sprint, your body thinks it's in panic mode.
Really?
Yeah, your body is convinced that something is chasing you.
Fight or flight.
Even though I
guess that makes sense.
Right, because an animal is not going to just sprint to get across the room.
Right.
That's like a fucking wild cat or something.
Right.
But like as a human, and if your body is like most of the day you're just this, or you're just kind of walking around. If all of a sudden you're like like that, your body's like, fuck, we gotta get away from whatever it is.
Right.
So there's like that, whatever that autonomous part of your brain is.
Right.
It releases like the same chemicals that happen when you are startled.
Right.
So your body is like, fuck, something's chasing us. That's why we're doing this. So then that's part of why it your body goes through like that change and it burns differently.
Right. Well, also too, it's also probably more healthy for you. Even though you are in fight or flight, you're actually expending calories in order to achieve some type of like stasis with that. As opposed to like, say that you almost get into a wreck on the highway.
Yeah.
And then you're still sitting there driving.
Yeah.
Right? So you're startled, you're in fight or flight, but then your body's not doing anything.
Yeah. You're not in your car like just freaking out. Like punching the person next to you. Well, I think that's about all we got time for today. Just wanted to say thanks to everybody who's been listening. I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode. We had a couple of nice little treats there for you. If you guys want any stickers, of course, make sure you reach out to us. We still got a couple of those left. If you are enjoying the content on the podcast, make sure you leave a like, a rating, and review on your favorite podcast platform and share it with your friends so more people can find it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure to reach out to us on the Facebook page, or you can email us at thickboypodcast@gmail.com. And you can also follow us over on Twitter. And if we said anything wrong or anything that you disagree with, make sure you let us know, and we'll read out the corrections here on the podcast in a new segment we have called I'm Sorry.
Right. Correct.
And do you have anything you'd like to close with there, Wes?
Oh, nope, just the normal. Thank you so much for the continued support.
Absolutely.
We hope that you're really enjoying the content. If you are, like Gary said, make sure that you're leaving a like or a rating, or that you subscribe to the podcast, if you can do that on your favorite podcast platform.
That helps us please the algorithm gods.
Right, exactly.
It makes the machine gods happy.
Right. So once again, we really appreciate it. We really do.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.